Hello ladies, gentlemen, and persons in between. My name is Tim Snowborn, and today we're going to talk about big data, predictive analytics, and the future of love on this episode of Serious Issues. I swear to God I'm going to get a tripod. I apologize for the shaky cam. I'm going to get a tripod for my phone here so that the mobile videos are not so shaky, but in the meantime you're just going to have to deal with it. Anyway, I've talked before about big data, the insane amount of data that is produced and uploaded and distributed across the internet every minute of every day. I'll probably put up that graphic that I put up last time to show you how much it is. Big data analytics is computer software and artificial intelligence that is used to pick out patterns among the data and relationships between the data. And one of the big data analytics tools that's being developed these days is called predictive analytics. That's when the software and the AI takes a look at all this data and tries to predict the future from it. It tries to predict with a certain level of probability what's going to happen next. And one of the things that big data analytics and perhaps even predictive analytics is being used for is developing personality profiles. For example, and I'm just pulling the numbers out of my ass here, but say you're a hunter and you own a large gas-guzzling truck. From that, a computer might deduce that there's an 83% chance that you're a Republican. On the other hand, if you shop at Whole Foods and you donate money to NPR, the computer might deduce that there's a 76% chance you're a liberal. Now, if you're a hunter who donates money to NPR, libertarian, I'm guessing? Google can already develop a pretty good psychological profile of anyone that uses it based on their search history. But especially if you're on social media, analytics can develop a very good psychological profile of you. Facebook probably knows you better than you know yourself. All those likes, all those pictures you posted, all those comments you've made, all those YouTube channels you've subscribed to, all those Instagram accounts you follow, all of that tells a very detailed story about who you are and the choices that you make. And the preferences you have, things you like and don't like, obviously. And all of that can be used to develop a very accurate psychological profile of you. This is why some people aren't on social media, because they know that all those likes and dislikes and pictures and subscriptions could be used to get to know them a little too well. Theoretically, an AI could replicate your personality. I'm skeptical to what degree it would be able to do that. Think about the movie I, Robot. Remember that hologram of the doctor who was killed and how it could replicate his personality but only to a certain point? That's kind of how I think it's going to be in the future. I think that AI will be able to imitate you for a short period, but eventually you'd catch on because I don't think the emotions would be there. There was an episode of Futurama, I think it was the episode right after they got back from being canceled, where both Fry and Leela were dead or presumed to be dead, and they were recreated as cyborgs by Professor Farnsworth, who fed every bit of data and everything he knew about Fry and Leela into a computer, which then recreated their personalities and uploaded them into cybernetic bodies. And that's a thing that I think might be possible in the future. There's an episode of Black Mirror about this, where they recreate a guy's personality and put it into a cybernetic body, and of course, being an episode of Black Mirror, it doesn't end well, but I'm more optimistic about the technology. I know we like to scare ourselves with the worst possible scenario of what this technology could be used for. In theory, the government could use this very accurate psychological profile of you to control you or manipulate you in some way, or to monitor you, and with predictive analytics, they may even be able to predict your behavior in the future. Minority Report could one day be a thing, except instead of psychics floating in a pool, it would be just a big, powerful computer that can predict who's going to do what next. Now, I'm not the sort of person who does that. I don't immediately go to the worst case scenario. I'm more optimistic. I prefer to think of all the good ways that new technology can be used. And the best way I can think of for this technology to be used in the future is to find you the perfect mate. Think about it. If a computer knows you and everyone else very well, it should be able to match you up with the perfect person. It should eventually be able to match you up with someone who has your same hobbies and tastes and interests, and hopefully even your values. In fact, theoretically, the AI would even know whether or not you and another person would work as a couple. There's research out there into the habits and characteristics of successful couples, and AI would theoretically know that. It would know if you and another person exhibit these characteristics and how well the two of you would work as a couple. I think in the future, dating will be mostly online, and people will think that it's quaint that we used to date random strangers and coworkers and friends of friends. That always seemed like a very inefficient way to find a mate to me. Why gamble on dating random strangers when the AI can just match you up with the right person? Because you missed dating and breaking up with the wrong person? Please. And that solves a big problem that I've thought about before. This is getting off topic a bit, but I'm a technology buff, so I think about the advances in medical technology and what that's going to do to our lifespans in the future. Advances in medical technology will one day probably allow us to live hundreds or maybe thousands of years, possibly indefinitely. But let's be conservative about it and let's say 700 or 800 years. Let's take the average human lifespan now and multiply it by 10. So we're living 700 or 800 years, roundabouts. What's going to happen to relationships at that point? It's easy to promise to love, honor, and cherish someone till death do you part, when death is presumed to be only a few short decades away. What's going to happen when it's a few long centuries away? Over time, your personality changes. Couples grow apart or get bored with each other all the time. Maybe the AI could match us up with the right person. Maybe the AI could match us up with someone that we could spend hundreds of years married to. We like to think that true love lasts forever, and maybe the reason it doesn't for so many of us is because we're marrying the wrong person, and maybe AI could solve that by matching us up with the right person, someone that we could grow and change with over century after century. So tell me what you think. Are you afraid that artificial intelligence might know you better than you know yourself? Are you optimistic about the possibility of being matched up with the perfect person in the future? Do you think that relationships could last for centuries or even millennia if we were matched up with the right person? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you in advance for subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting, and we'll see you in another episode of Serious Issues.